Hey, I'm Nate Wakeford, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of having masculine frame when in war times. There's a saying that goes, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I think there's something very deep and true about that, because in times of conflict, in times of chaos, in times of uncertainty, it's really important to be able to hold yourself centered and in your frame, to be able to come back to yourself and hold yourself in a way which brings order to yourself and your environment. The alternative that happens is when chaos comes to you, or you are finding yourself in a situation where there is uncertainty and unease, that you get wrapped up in the external environment and that chaos becomes your world. And then you're less resourced just to handle the natural circumstances and challenges of your life. And you have less bandwidth for things that bring you happiness and joy, and even for the patience that you have for your loved ones and family. So it's super important in times of uncertainty that you cultivate the relationship with yourself to bring certainty in your world. And from that place, when you have got your foundations met, when you are able to hold yourselves in a beautiful and peaceful and resourceful state, your experience of chaotic world circumstances will be very different. Instead of being sucked into this outer world reality, you'll continue to focus on that which you can actually change, that which you can influence. And if you are taking action, it's in areas which will make an actual difference. Now, it's important when there are news and events like they are coming up now of the US going to war, that you pay attention to what you can influence, but also don't be too sucked in emotionally into these outer world events and circumstances. No doubt there's going to be frightening images through social media and the like. It's really important that you focus on what you can influence and what you can change. And that might mean being prepared, prepping. That might mean developing yourself physically, developing yourself in knowing how to fight, in knowing how to defend yourself if you're ever in a predicament, or a challenging or dangerous circumstance physically. And you also want to continue to cultivate and develop relationships with your brothers and with your family, with your community. It's going to be the people that are closest to you that you're going to be most relying upon if there were to be challenging world circumstances and events that come to you. And things like the pursuit of, status and the pursuit of validation are not going to serve you. Having resources is something that's definitely very important, but how you allocate those resources is also very important. What you invest in changes. See, if you've got diamond rings, yes, you could probably trade them, but soon water, food, items for protection, things like that are going to become a lot more scarce and a lot more valuable. So it's worthwhile paying attention to the world events and circumstances and acknowledge there is a threat. However, you must continue to focus on developing yourself, developing your masculine frame, building yourself up, as well as fulfilling your role as a man, which is to protect, provide, and serve, which means you have to prepare in advance for potential adversities so that you can ensure you can provide even in challenging circumstances, or you can move your family to safe ground. The protection side, obviously, I already mentioned, but having the ability to defend yourself and defend those close to you. Now, the service is also great in terms of building a long table versus a high wall. And what I mean by that is, if you've got a lot of people who you've done good things for, who you've built rapport and respect with, who you've done favors for, it's a higher probability those people will come to your aid and support in times of need. For now, you need to take full responsibility and accountability that we are going into a challenging and uncertain time that's increasingly looking like we're going into World War III. And It's in those times, in extreme chaos, extreme challenge, that you'll soon discover how strong your frame is. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos your ability to handle intensity and remain in integrity is a fundamental element of the masculine frame. That where weaker men will cripple, weaker men will lie, distort, avoid, strong men will remain true to their path. They'll protect, provide, and serve in an effective and capable way. And they will continue to earn the trust and respect of those people around them through their behaviors. If you're a weaker framed man, you're the gardener in the war in these times. And there are things you can do about it, but you need to be working on them immediately. And you need to be around strong men. And you need to have a strategy for building yourself up in your masculine frame. I've talked about that extensively through these videos. Commencing a rite of passage is always a good idea, because in doing so, you'll be strengthening yourself and you'll be increasing your resourcefulness and your ability to respond during these times. And you'll also be building a network of brothers that you can tap into if the situation arises. So what would I recommend in these times going forward specifically? Well, in addition to joining Sovereign Brotherhood, in addition to starting the rite of passage that's inside our community, you might consider coaching as well by men, including myself, who can help to guide you and your potentially your family on your options. And specifically, if you're going into war, you need to start educating yourself. You need to have safety plans. You need to have backup water, weapons if you're allowed them in your specific area. You need backup food. You need a safe location to fall back on if there's chaos or turmoil that's brought to your town and city. You need to have alternate means of communication to phones and things like that. Ham radios are a great option. You need to have medical supplies. It's ideal to have all the necessities that you need to survive 3 to 6 months minimum in a circumstances where you don't have ready access to food or water, or you don't have ready access to withdrawing money from banks, for instance, or if communications are down, or if you go into a situation like martial law, or if it becomes dangerous to roam the streets. And that's where having means of protecting you and your family also become important, and organizing yourself such that you can take care of each other as a family and your immediate friends. So the ultimate thing, however, what I would recommend is moving to a location that, and in this case I'm in Mexico, obviously I think this is a good location, where they have decentralized food supplies, where they have year-round food growing ability, where they have ready access to water, where you do not have a really strong seasonality, meaning you don't have very harsh winters specifically. So if you're in a more tropical condition, you have to worry less about preparing for extended spells in winter, and less about warm clothes and burning resources just to stay warm. You can be more focused on investing your energy and resources in a more efficient way, because there's a higher probability that you'll be able to get food and water year round, and a high probability you'll be warm year round. So I hope that's something that is beneficial to you. If you have any questions, by all means reach out to me. And I know this is a somewhat ominous conversation to be happening, but ignoring world events isn't going to happen either. Again, start preparing, start focusing on yourself, start building up your masculine frame, come into a brotherhood, start preparing and prepping for the safety of yourself and your family, and the longevity and well-being in terms of food, water, and medical supplies. I emphatically encourage you to do so right now. Also, if you have cash, start keeping more and more cash. Less money in banks would be a good option as well. I hope this has been helpful. And if you would like to join my Sovereign Brotherhood community, you can find the information below this video. Same goes for booking a one-to-one coaching call with me. And until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.